Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here, and what we're going to do in this video is talk about the MLB All-Star Game. So it's Tuesday, July 16th. We have the All-Star Game tonight. The AL and the NL are facing off in the MLB All-Star Game, and I'm just going to talk about this game, giving out some of my best bets, giving out some long shots in terms of MVP odds and all that stuff, and kind of just going through a deep dive of the game. And we are riding high. We did get our long shot home run derby prop to cash yesterday. Thank you to Teoscar Hernandez for winning the home run derby, cashing out that juicy plus money banger. So we are riding high off of that. Before I get into today, I just real quick, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are not already, and then for this specific video, like and comment, all that stuff. I do appreciate it and it helps me out a ton. But let's get into this matchup. So again, MLB All-Star Game. Before I get into the picks and predictions and all that stuff, I do just want to quickly talk through the odds. So across the board, you're going to see that the AL is favored. Now you see on the screen here is the consensus odds, meaning that is just where these odds are most commonly priced at. Most books have the AL at minus 118. Last I checked, the best price you could get was at minus 112. That was at Bet Rivers. So if you're interested and you're able to use Bet Rivers, minus 112 is your best bet. And then for the NL, if you do like them in a slight upset, most commonly offered at plus 100 odds as the consensus price there. And then in terms of the over-under, the most common price is at 7.5, which I did find kind of interesting that the most the most consensus odds, the most common odds you'll find on the over are a little bit juiced at minus 118 with the under at minus 110. But there are some books offering an 8 price on the total, which I do think that is a really good number, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But if you can find the total at 8, I really do think that under is a good price. Again, we'll get into that later as one of my official picks. But in terms of the winner, so now we'll transition to some actual picks here. I lean towards the AL beating the NL. I know that this is chalk because they're the favorite team and they've won like 9 straight years heading into last year when the NL finally beat that streak. And I'm not going to make this an official play that I don't have money on the winner. I do think that the AL wins this one, but these All-Star games are just such toss-ups that if you do play it, you're just going to want to play it a little bit lightly. It's an exhibition game. Both teams are incredibly talented. Don't go crazy with the winner. I think the AL wins. That is my official prediction. And as I mentioned, heading into last year, the AL had won 9 straight All-Star games, which is kind of crazy. Now that ended last year. The NL finally got a win under their books. They won 3-2, pretty dramatic victory. Go-ahead home run in the top of the 8th inning to win 3-2, 2-run shot. That's how they won last year. But for this year, I just think that the AL gets back to their winning ways. They just have the predominantly more talented roster. You look up and down the board, the AL is just slightly better than the NL. And the thing that I look at and put the most emphasis on, they have the most hitters capable of making a pop and giving you a 2-run shot, which in a game that's projected to be this low scoring, because these games tend to trend under, which we'll talk about, having a batter, someone like Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Jose Ramirez, Yordan Alvarez, someone like that, who's capable of just getting a 2-run shot out of the building, it's really, really valuable when you look at the format of the All-Star Game. Now, the NL losing guys like Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna definitely hurts. And, you know, the AL does have some guys injured as well. But you look at the lineups, the AL's hitters are just better. Now, yeah, the NL, Shohei Ohtani, Bryce Harper, scary, very good batters. But the AL has Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Gunnar Henderson, Jose Ramirez. Even Yordan Alvarez has kind of slumped this year, has started to come on recently after that slow start to the year. The AL also has the leader in batting average, Stephen Kwan, in their lineup. Just a couple guys to slap singles, and then someone behind him is going to bring him home. So if the AL hitters, one of them is able to just pop one off, that could be the difference in the game. And if the AL is able to get a lead, unlike last year, I think they'll be able to hold on to it. They have the bullpen to close it out. Mason Miller of the Athletics is incredible, has electric stuff. The AL just has flamethrowers up and down the roster in their bullpen. So I lean towards the AL winning this one straight up. Again, it's a toss-up. Both these teams are, it's an All-Star game. They're both really good, and it is an exhibition game. And these games just kind of can be a little bit wonky, considering the fact that the AL has won 9 straight. Or heading into last year, they had won 9 straight. I do think that they are just a better team, so I'm going to take them to win straight up. But my favorite play of the day is actually on this going under. I have the under 8, which you can get at minus 115 odds, as you can see on the screen here. That's a really, really good price. I do think that under 8 is the best bet on the board. That one I do think is worth a 1-unit play because you're just relying on the pitchers pitching well, which has been the case most commonly in these All-Star games. Now, some starting pitchers are missing in this game, like the NL is missing Chris Sale. Ranger Suarez, Tyler Glasnow. In the AL as missing Logan Gilbert. The good news is that all those pitchers that I just named, those are starters, which means the game will most commonly be thrown by relievers, which is a good sign for a game like this because relievers are used to coming out of the bullpen, which it can be a little bit weird for a starter coming out of the bullpen. So the fact that this is going to be a bullpen heavy game, that does help with the runs, with it being lower scoring game, with not a lot of runs being scored. And as I mentioned, these All-Star games just generally tend to trend under. That's a little bit of a tongue twister, but they trend under, right? The total has gone under in 14 of the last 17 All-Star games. That includes last year in which the score was 3-2. That was the final score of that game, and it was 2-1 heading into the 8th inning. So it's very, very low scoring. In that 17-game stretch, the average runs scored is about 6.5, just over 6.5. So not only does it trend under, it trends under by a full run or full run and a half, depending which price you were able to get. And it makes sense, right? Like everything about the All-Star game makes sense why they are such low-scoring games. Generally, good pitching beats good hitting. That some pitches are just unhittable, no matter how good these batters are. Some pitches are just unhittable. The All-Star game, quite literally littered with good pitching. Some would say the best pitching in the entire MLB is going to be played in this All-Star game. That makes sense. It's the best pitchers in the league. And then another reason why these games tend to go under is the format just doesn't lend itself to the batters. It makes it really, really tough for the batters to get into a rhythm. I mean, most of the batters, they're only going to see 2 plate appearances. It's rare that they're going to see the same pitcher twice. So there's really no chance for the batter to just get into a rhythm, right? To take their first at bat, to kind of get themselves acclimated to the speed of the game and all that stuff. Really don't have the option to do that. And they also don't have the ability to get a feel for the pitcher, right? A lot is talked about the third time through a lineup for like actual regular season baseball games, and I guess playoffs too, but actual baseball games, the third time through a lineup can be a big deal because the batters are starting to get the timing down on all the pitchers. That's not the case with how the All-Star game works. So that's why these games tend to go under. I also do think if you want to take the no-run first inning, I'm not going to talk you out of that. That is a little bit juiced to the gills at -138 odds. So it's definitely being priced as it being the most likely outcome is that there's no run scored. I'm actually holding off on that. I think that Corbin Burnes is a really good pitcher. He could give up one early. He's kind of known to give up one early and then settle in after that. So I'm not going to officially take the no run first inning. If anything, I would actually lean towards the value play of the over, but I'm not going to have anything official or even a lean on that. I just want to kind of shout that out. Those the last 4 All-Star games, no runs have been scored in the first inning. If a game trends under, that also makes sense for the first inning as well. But I do think that Corbin Burnes specifically. So if you want to take the NL to get an early lead, you could do that. But at AL winning, under as my favorite play. And then in terms of the MVP, so as I mentioned, I'm going to give out my favorite MVP bet along with a long shot. We got our 2 long shots, actually. I'm giving out 2 long shots. We got our long shot, home run derby winner in Teoscar Hernandez. So let's hope we can stay hot with one of these. The one thing that I do want to note before I give out my official predictions is that for the MLB All-Star Game MVP, it's very unlikely that a pitcher wins MVP. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. Only 2 pitchers since 2000 have won the MVP. It was Mariano Rivera, who won it in 2013, which makes sense. That was a Lifetime Achievement Award as he was retiring. And then Shane Bieber won in 2019. So your best bet is to go with a position player, which makes sense because like pitchers rarely pitch more than 1 inning, and something crazy would need to happen, rare would need to happen in order for a pitcher to win, where it's just much easier for the batters, which makes sense. So I'm going to give out, again, 1 favorite, 2 long shots. All of them are going to be batters. And my favorite to win MVP, it's another chalk play. It's Aaron Judge. I think he's the most likely player to win MVP. He has the second best odds as the second favorite, with Ohtani being the favorite to win MVP. Because the MLB All-Star Game tends to be a lower scoring game, again, the unders are 13-4 since the All-Star Game since 2005. The NL won last year. It was a 3-2 game that was literally decided by a 2-run shot in the top of the 8th inning. The NL won because of that 2-run shot in the top of the 8th. Elias Diaz of the Rockies hit that 2-run home run. He won MVP. So it quite literally takes 1 swing of the bat to win MVP for the All-Star Game. And the most likely player to have 1 swing of the bat that changes the game is someone like Aaron Judge, because he is by far the best batter in the MLB this year. He's currently the betting favorite to win AL MVP, which makes sense. He leads the MLB in basically every metric you look at, aside from average. Home runs, leads the MLB. He's got 34. Next closest guy is Ohtani, who has, he's got 5 more than Ohtani. He leads the MLB in home runs, along with leading the MLB in the following stats: ISO rate, slugging, OPS, WOBA. Those are kind of advanced stats just to show how good a batter's been. But then you even look at batted balls type of stats: barrel rate, hard hit rate, average exit velocity. He leads the MLB in that. He's the best batter according to WRC+. He's having a historic season, a very, very good season. And if this year's All-Star Game takes a similar path to how previous All-Star Games have gone, it's just going to take one moonshot from Judge to give the AL the lead. And if their bullpen hangs onto it with a bunch of different arms, they're probably going to give MVP to the guy that makes the game-winning play. Judge has the best chance of making that play, which makes him my favorite to win MVP. In terms of long shots, I have 2 for you guys, and they're both just going to be on the screen here that I'll go through pretty quickly. I think it's worth sprinkling money on both of these long shots, and by sprinkling, I mean like $5 each. For the NL, because I do want to have a player on the NL, and if they do win, Elly De La Cruz at plus 2,500, I think is a great bet. And then for the AL, if it's not Aaron Judge, I think Salvador Perez is a great bet at plus 4,500. So the bet on De La Cruz is just, it's rare that we see his combination of speed and power. So not only could De La Cruz be someone to hit a home run that changes the game, he also has game-changing speed. So he gets a single, he steals second and third base, someone hits a sac fly to get him home, or he scores on a single from second base, something like that. He does have the ability to score a game-winning run solely because of how fast he is and his ability to steal bases. So I do think that there is some logic there with Elly De La Cruz. And then for Salvador Perez, this is both kind of a giving a beloved veteran a lifetime achievement award, while there also is some logic to him from an actual baseball sense as well. But, you know, he's been in the league for 13 years. This is his 9th All-Star game. Really impressive resume. But he's also on a resurgent Kansas City Royals team that's really, really good. So if there's no clear-cut, obvious winner, and Perez does anything, anything in the game, then I could see the award going to him. In terms of the actual reasons, so the starting catcher for the AL is Adley Rutschman. Rutschman's amazing, but Perez is the only backup for the AL. So, you know, if they give Rutschman a couple innings, they give Perez the rest of the game, he figures to play more than most position players. So he just has a higher chance of doing something by just having a wider sample size of at-bats. He's also been to the All-Star game before, so he knows what to expect, won't be fazed by anything. And one kind of very specific stat that looks really good for Perez is he has the best slugging on fastballs thrown over 97 miles per hour, meaning he hits 97 miles per hour or above. That's what we're looking for. Fastballs, the best in the MLB, literally number 1 in terms of slugging. So if he goes up against a flamethrower on the NL roster who throws 100 miles per hour fastball, he could hit that out of the park in a big moment. And as we illustrated here, that's what's needed to win the MVP award. So for a sprinkle long shot play, I think that there is some value there. And that's all we got. A lot of stuff for you guys to lock in. Tail what you want to tail. Don't tail what you don't. I appreciate everybody for watching. Again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And have a good one.